Hello, I'm Gareth, he's Mo. This is the Late Challenge, and we're going to talk about Liverpool being shit. So, it is 3 defeats in a row for the mighty Reds, 2 injury time winners, and a dodgy penalty in Turkey to boot. No fun in any of that. And then to add to the misery, it's now an international break for us all to stew upon it all. But like being more realistic and being more us and being more the Late Challenge, there's lots of noise out there. There's lots of people being weirdos out there. We're going to try and find some perspective while also acknowledging that 3 defeats in a week or just over a week is not great, and the Reds haven't really played that well all season long. But equally, I just wanted to say that some people out there are certainly lacking perspective and don't really seem to understand what being a Liverpool supporter is. So to call our Premier League winning manager names and get stuck into the players who represent our club in the most over-the-top way, what's all that about?
Do you remember what I said 7 days ago? Criticism, not abuse.
Exactly. I don't
really
get it.
Is that simple.
I mean,
don't think, like you say, I don't think anyone can sit here and pretend like everything's rosy and that you're not allowed to be upset with what's happened, because we have eyes and we do care, because we love this team and we want them to do well. When they're not doing well, you get annoyed, you get upset, you
But
get
does
hurt.
that make the manager a pussy? Or does that mean the players haven't got bollocks? I mean, we are going to talk about the football media and fan media, if you know what I'm referring to there, in the Patreon show, just in terms of where that's all gone, where that's at, what it's like, is it toxic, is it not, and all the rest of it. But honestly, to see anyone who's calling themselves some kind of Liverpool supporter form of content to be talking about the manager or the players in that way is fucking wild.
I'd love to see him do it in front of them, by the way.
Or in Liverpool. Anyway. But, you know, it's just a weird one for me. I mean, you know, there's no way that neither the players or the manager aren't trying to get results here. Of course they are. And, you know, they've been unfortunate. Like I say, 2 injury time winners in games that could easily have been draws, therefore. And I'm well within my rights to call that penalty dodgy out in Turkey, because it fucking was.
20% penalty is what Arne Slot called it.
Really?
And the player himself turned it into a 100% penalty with his reaction. And I think that's fair enough. Like, I would say that probably 2 out of 10 refs would give that. And
it's not great, one of the is 2. I mean, you know, and of course it sounds like excuses, and of course the Reds are architects of their own downfall and all that kind of stuff. But like I say, we're just going to try and find some little bits of perspective. So let's start by reminding you all, if you needed it, that the Reds are second in the league, currently the champions, and only a point off the top of the league. And, as our good friend Andrew Beasley pointed out, Liverpool have now played 4 games against the current top 6, while no other side in the top 9 has played more than 2. So we've got some tough games out the way, and we'll have some easier ones to come. There's lots and lots and lots of fawning over Arsenal that I see. And of course, they've got a strong squad and they've come close to the title before, but the manager still hasn't won one, and they lost to us and they drew with Man City. So last season, when Liverpool won the league and all we heard for weeks on end was, who have Liverpool played? Who have Liverpool played? Well, I'm going to do the same.
Yeah.
Who have Arsenal played? Because, you know, if they're beating West Ham or, you know, they're beating Leeds United, and when they played us, they lost, and when they played Man City, they drew. So, like, the idea, you know, they are not, like, infallible. They are not this super team. They are not Man City of previous seasons where you were like, oh my God, you make one mistake and it's all over. It's not all over. So why are some people acting like it is?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's like, that's maybe why some people are acting like it, because of all that scar tissue from all those battles with Man City where it's like one mistake and it's massive. It's not like that anymore. We're in a different reality, and it's hard for some people clearly to reset their minds. But Slot himself said that, like, I think it was one of the very first press conferences this season. He said that it's not going to be a 90 points to win the league this year. Like, it's going to be probably somewhere 80 again, as it was last year, because everybody has got better. Even the so-called weaker teams got better. I mean, look at Sunderland. Like, no one said thought that Sunderland were going to be doing anywhere near as good as they were. at the start of the season. So
look at Bournemouth, they look fantastic. We
they
beat
do,
them, by the way.
Yeah. But I think you've got to kind of just play on the merits of what you see in front of you. Speaking of Arsenal, by the way, does anyone not remember that literally 2 weeks ago, they all wanted to get rid of their manager and they were having a meltdown? So I'm not sure how they've suddenly become the greatest team in Europe either. Everybody is flawed. There will be good times, there will be bad times. So when you're having your bad time, you need to keep that in mind, that it's not over. Which isn't to say that the problems that we're seeing now don't need to be fixed, because they do need to be fixed. But there's 114 professional football teams in England. I would say 113 of them would like to be where Liverpool are right now.
And there are 31 games to go. So, you know, we might be getting a bit premature if we're writing anyone off at this point. We've lost 2 Premier League games. Arsenal have lost 1. Man City have lost to Tottenham and Brighton. Man City are now apparently title contenders too. And look, you know, Haaland is playing really well, and I absolutely like, as much as you can love a Man City goal, I did love that goal, because it was like, that's a boss centre-forward goal.
Yeah.
Like, just lashing centre-halves round and then absolutely blamming it is my type of goal. Unfortunately, it's not our players scoring them. But look, we know the Reds aren't playing well. We know players are struggling for fitness and form. We know that understandings on the pitch are not what they should be after a summer of change. We know as well that this is the first time in his managerial career that Arne Slot has had to face 3 successive defeats. So it's a challenge, and there's problems to be sorted out, and there is things to worry about. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I mean? There are, as I say, 31 league games to play, 93 points to battle for. Galatasaray match, annoying, not decisive. We're very much in the Champions League. And next up at Anfield is Manchester United.
Yeah, and we owe them one from last season.
A side that won at the weekend and have not yet won successive games under their manager. So you could say, A, I'm tempted fate, or you could say, B, the likelihood of them winning is not high. And now the reason we're a bit later today is I've just done the overlap. And so obviously there's literally a Man United fan on it. And there's Paul Scholes.
Yeah.
And neither are looking forward to this game, I can tell you now.
No.
And so while there's plenty of people who are seemingly meant to be in our number writing us off, they're going, the last thing I want to do is go to Anfield. So I just think if you're not up for that game, A, what are you doing supporting Liverpool? And B, what are you doing playing for Liverpool? I think both fans in the ground, supporters in the team will be bang up for that game when we get back from international break. And we'll be all right. That is the time and the place to turn it on again. To go to the sort of the title of the actual show, how can Slot fix Liverpool? We're going to run through a few ideas. But first of all, I just wanted to say to you out there listening, watching, ignore the crisis club shit that we're going to see over the next few days. There is time on air to fill. There is spaces in newspapers to fill. There is online content to be created, minus any actual football that many people care about. Sorry for just writing off international football, but I can't be arsed.
We've been here before. They all know who you are.
So, exactly. So what I'm saying is the clout seekers are going to be going for clout. And, you know, go for a walk. You know, just sack it off. Honestly, anyway, you know, get behind the boys and we'll be all right. Right then, the show title. What can Slot do to manage this mini malaise is what I'm calling it. So, first off, I think my first thing that I'm going to float on the show is, we know, like I said, that there's form and fitness issues. We know Slot has been chopping and changing a lot, including actually in games. So is it time, Mo Stewart, to get back to a core that he relies on, that he trusts, and that he also trusts to play the majority of an actual game? Because I've done some stats, I've done some research, we'll come on to that.
In theory, yes. Although I think if you look back to last season, that was one of the best things about us, because I saw some stats about how many goals Liverpool conceded in the first 7 games. I think it was only 3 goals in the first 7 Premier League games compared to 9 this time. But in those 7 games, you were expecting to see Alisson, you're expecting to see Robertson, Van Dijk, Kanate, Alexander-Arnold, McAllister, Gravenberg, Szoboszlai, Salah, Diaz. Like, that's like literally 10 out of the 11 players probably played majority of all of those 7 games. Like, that was what was so good about this. So you think, well, maybe we can get back to that. But I don't think Slot really... See, I'm torn with how much he wants to change, because he did say that he learned his lesson from last season where he did just play the same. I think it was 14 players played loads of games and everyone else played hardly any. And then they got to February and they were all goose. And he did want to avoid that. So I get that there's going to be a bit of change, but I don't think the amount of change is where he'd want it to be. I think his hand's been forced. You mentioned some of the injuries, but also the amount of times that players have had to be knocked because of what he's seen on the pitch is like, I no longer trust you to do the job. But going back to your original point, do we think that we need to go back to a settled side? I would say yes. But the question I'll put back to you then, who is his first choice right back?
Well, I would say it's not a fella who was part of a title winning midfield, surely. Because he's been sound there, but we need him in midfield. Because McAllister looks goosed. McAllister doesn't look fit. McAllister doesn't look like McAllister. And therefore, we can't afford to have a good midfielder playing right back. You're just going to have to trust either Bradley or Frimpong, because, you're just going to have to go with it for me. Because putting Szoboszlai there is wild. We're missing his energy in the middle.
So I agree. I do think that I would have Szoboszlai in midfield, because I do also think that the difference between having Wirtz as the 10 and having Szoboszlai as the 10 is Wirtz wants to kind of drift over there on the left-hand side and do stuff over there, whereas Szoboszlai was basically mopping up what Salah wasn't doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you have him in midfield, it's probably easier for him to still do that than if he's a right back where he's got to think about the defensive line. So yeah, I would probably put him in midfield. And you're right, I would give McAllister the kind of break that we're trying to do with Isak. I know that obviously it's different because McAllister just had an injury, whereas Isak just didn't have any preseason at all. But it's clear that he's been going for so long. And there's always been something. And you watch him when he plays, he's all action. He
looks goose. He's like, you know what he reminds me of watching him on Saturday? It was like, Henshaw always used to look goose after about 5 minutes. Like, not even goose. He looked like he'd been goosing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like totally puffed out with a big red face. That's what McAllister looks like.
Shirt.
Yeah. That's what McAllister looks like. It looks like he's playing footy at the top of one of these Mexican mountains again or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, he's not right. No. He wasn't right at the end of last season. And so it's like you say, I think we need to get him right. And it's a conundrum for the manager because, at his best, he's the best midfielder at the club. But right now he isn't, though.
No. And also, the other reason I would be giving McAllister a break is because I think if you look at the guys who have been playing in the midfield, I would say that Curtis Jones has been one of the better ones as well. I think that he's come on and played well almost every time he's come on, or at least looked to improve it, been able to find passes to people better than some of the other guys, which is one of the big problems at the moment. So you'd almost say he would be ahead of McAllister in the pecking order. So just give him a break. Let him take whatever time he needs to get back to where he is. And then hopefully that will start to have an impact on everyone else. But yeah, I understand the reasoning why Slot didn't start Wirtz against Chelsea, but I was disappointed that he didn't. And the fact that he came on at half-time and improved the team, I get the impression that Slot probably feels like he probably should have started him. So, I
mean, the narrative on him, I just think is ridiculous. Like, clearly it needs to be bedded in. Clearly they need to think of a way that, arrive at a best 11, arrive at a system that suits the players. He's got all of those things, understandings between players, that as well. But I mean, if you can't see that he's a good player, then you must be fucking blind.
If people are obsessing
it would have been like assist of the season if Salah had put that in. Fucking what is that touch? Like, do you know what I mean? I mean, we shouldn't only be talking about a touch when from a whole Premier League game, but what a touch.
I mean, there are players who make you do that though. Like I remember Thiago used to do that. Like, I always used to love when he was playing for Liverpool because every time he goes to the ground, he'd bless you with at least one moment where he just like,
Hello.
like no one else on the pitch could do that. And I think he's going to be one of those. And at the moment, people are obsessing about what they're not getting from him because, again, that's the nature of football discourse, but also because he hasn't notched a goal or an assist. But like you say, there's been more than one occasion where he should, like, I think the ball he plays to Isak against Galatasaray is fantastic as well. You can imagine that going in, being an assist. Obviously, there's a shot he should do better with against Palace. And even if one of those three had turned into a goal, then the noise would have quieted down considerably. But one thing I would say about Wirtz, on top of everything else, he does not seem like the kind of character who's going to be affected by it all. He still seems cool, calm, collected, Terminator-like, as we used to say.
But the only bit I was worried about on that really is it felt as though look, maybe it's managerial instruction or whatever, but it felt to me a little bit like he felt he had to come deeper into midfield and start doing a bit of that, and he can't do it.
He shouldn't do it. And I see, this is the thing I would love to ask Slot about, because that is one of the things that's happening a lot more. He's coming deeper to get the ball.
Caicedo v Wirtz. Who's going to win that?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the thing is, it's not even just the tackling and stuff when he comes deeper. It's just that he's further away from their goal.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
He's got more defenders to get through before he can do anything like that touch we were also fantastic about.
There's also a boss. This is from the other week. Well, it's not from the other week. It's from last week. But I just loved it in that, all of these people, like I mentioned earlier, are making lots of content about why he's shite, etc. and blah, 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 because they can't wait to say it's a waste of money and blah, such is the nature of football discourse, as you said there. So I loved it when Up the Joe lashed out 21 most chances created for Premier League clubs in all competitions this season. 21 Wirtz, 21 Grealish, Brian Mbeumo 18, Fernandes 17, and 5 players on 16. That was before the weekend, so some of those would have slightly changed since. But nevertheless, the fume that caused was fucking brilliant. What, you've created the created chances stat now, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, but it wasn't just now. It wasn't created specifically for foreign verts. We've been using it for a while. But the point is that he has been able to get people in position to get shots off on goal. It's just that those shots haven't been going in. And this is the other thing as well. Like, it was a shout out to Dave Lynch of something that he wrote today that I thought was fascinating. I know that some people don't like the expected goals chat, but it basically boils down to how likely you are or how often you get into positions where you should score a goal. Like, that's really all it is. You don't need to kind of obsess about the details.
1.4 for Wirtz.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about the team. So if you look at the last 3 defeats, Liverpool and their opponents have both got an XG of 5.7 across those 3 games: Palace, Galatasaray, and Chelsea. The opponent scored 5 goals from an XG of 5.7. Liverpool scored 2. Like, we are creating the chances and not putting them away. And had we scored 5 goals, the same as our opponents, guess what? We wouldn't have lost any of those games. So you can look at it and say there are things that aren't working that need to be fixed. But you also have to acknowledge the fact that football is a low-scoring game, traditionally. So scoring goals is actually really important to a massive decider in whether you win or whether you lose. Like, I went deeper into it and looked at some of the stats across all of the Premier League. So there's been 70 Premier League games this season. So far, there's been 25 of those 70 games that have been decided by 2 or more goals. So that's 45 out of the 70 games have been either draws or decided by 1 goal, either way. Like, Liverpool have played 66 games under Arne Slot. He's lost 12 of those games. 11 of those defeats have been by the odd goal. So there are fine margins. So one of those shots that I mentioned going in, like the Szoboszlai one against Chelsea, like, you can say that it was a good bit of defending, the guy getting in front of him, but he had the time to think about it and actually put it in the corner, but he didn't. And it's a good chance that it goes begging. And what happens? We end up losing that game. And if we'd have got the equaliser in the first half rather than the second half, who knows what else would have been different about that game. We've seen how often goals change games. And as I say, it's a big part of what the difference between winning and losing is literally how you win or how you lose. So for all of the other parts that could go right, could go wrong, if all of these great forwards that we've got start banging them in, then I really think that a lot of the noise is going to be quieted down.
And the most expensive of the forwards is clearly not fit, but, talking of great touches, well, there was a great touch right there to set up Cody Gakpo. So, again, we're obviously going to see a better version of him further down the line. So, again, the sort of the panic, the jump to immediate crisis is just bollocks for me. There's some of the stuff that, just wanted to mention in terms of, can we possibly arrive at a settled side? I mean, clearly against Chelsea, two midfielders that won the league being in the back four is not ideal. The situation at right back, 3 right backs in 7 league games, Bradley getting hooked again because he picked up a yellow card. All of these things, again, don't help with sort of patterns of play, structure, understanding, getting up the field even, which has been a problem for Liverpool as well. So, what I dug into before, I had a quick look. So 6 players have started every Premier League game for Liverpool. Szoboszlai, Van Dijk, Salah, Konate, Kerkez and Gakpo. But only 3 of those players have played 90 minutes, which is Szoboszlai, Van Dijk and Salah. Now, Salah did come off against Newcastle, but that was in the 12th minute of injury time. So I'm going to say it's fair to say he's played 90. So, that sounds like then, doesn't it? Well, there's part of the problem almost. Too many changes, too many subs, whatever it might be. But then I dug into, I always think, well, this sounds like a decent point, but I'll just go and check over here. So Arsenal, only 4 players have started all 7, and only 2 players have played 90s. Yeah. And they're doing all right. Apparently, they're going to win the league. And that's just Raya and Gabriel, by the way, the 2 players that have played 90s. And Man City, no player has started all 7. So it's like, oh, well, that's fucked me point then, but I may as well tell the story tell the story on the podcast. But, it's like we're all looking, including our own manager, for answers. And this is again why I object to language being used against them that is just totally unnecessary. Or however you want to dig at it, or whatever you want to point out that he could and should have done, he's trying to win the football matches. Yeah. And, even, the recruit, some blurt, just when I was driving here, some blurt rang into a radio station. And some of the uninformed shite he came out with was just unbelievable. He was going on about Gay, and he's like, why did Slot leave it to the last day to try and get a centre half? He's the coach, mate. Yeah. Did you miss them the stories that have been going on for over a year? He doesn't do that, mate. That's not his job, mate. So coming on to national radio and having a pop at him for something that's not even his job is a bit mad. No. And they don't even pull him on it though. No. Because it works for them. And you're like, oh my God.
More of that on the Patreon, by the way.
Yes, again, indeed. But yeah, Liverpool last season as well, you mentioned it before, just in terms of, how reliant they were on a core. So Mo Salah played in every single game last season in the Premier League, 38. Van Dijk, 37. Gravenberch, 37. Szoboszlai, 36. Diaz, 36. Alexis McAllister, 35. Gakpo, 35. Robertson, 33. Trent, 33. Curtis Jones, 33. Konate, 31. Nunes, 30. Alisson, 28. Jota, 26. Rest in peace. And so on and so forth. But you get the point that there was a level of stability, and clearly that stability has been upended for a number of reasons. Now, the other thing beyond this point then, onto the next point, if you like, is because I'm trying to think about how you get out the funk here. What do you do against Man United to almost ensure you're getting something? Now, we can just be daft and say the shit, and they are. And we should beat them. We know that as well. But I'm just saying, in terms of literally what we've seen so far, first 7 games, what can he do differently? What can he ask for? What can he ask for more of? Now, I'm going to be basic, bitch, here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to say, I just want to see them dig in and graft a bit more. So, when we went to Man City away, and like Mo was getting back and he was in the full-back positions. So Bosley was lying prone on the pitch at the end of the game, covered in sweat. They absolutely put it in, and Man City didn't have any answer for it, because it's the old thing of you put the graft in and then your quality shines through, and they haven't got the answer type of thing. I want to see something like that against Man United. I want to see a reaction. I don't want to just see the same thing.
No.
I'm like, okay, and look, highlighting that Mo doesn't track back and all that on all the Match of the Day and various other programmes. We know that. The problem is what you said before. He hasn't got the fella filling in behind him anymore, and he hasn't got the settle right back who knows what he's going to do, and he hasn't got that triangle of understanding on the right-hand side of the pitch. And
he's not banging in the goals. I mean, we didn't forget about all that other stuff.
Yeah. So what are we doing about it then? Do you know what I mean? And one of the things could be, do you know what, Mo? You are going to have to do a bit of work, mate, just while we try and pull this back around. So against Man United, do a bit of tracking back there.
So it's funny, when you think about a team who changes manager, new manager comes in, particularly one who changed in the middle of a season, what's the first thing they always do? You lot need to get fitter. We're going to work you hard. We're going to make sure you work hard. That's always the first thing you notice when a new manager comes in. They're running harder, they're running faster, they're running further. So and with it being a Man United game, and considering the way that the game against them at Anfield went last season, where I felt like they actually did win the physical battle and it really irked me, then absolutely I agree with you. That's what I want to see from the team against United. I want to see them front-footed, aggressive, in the tackle, winning duels, really being dominating your opposite man all over the pitch. Because if you do that, the crowd's going to get up against you. And when I'll go up for you, sorry. And when that happens, it makes it so much easier to win the game. I feel like one of our best performances this season was the first half against Everton, where that was happening. Liverpool were winning the physical battle. The crowd was getting up for it. They were taking some juice from it, and we went from there. I think that's what needs to happen again. The only problem with that, though, is that United game is the first of 7 games in 21 days. So I think from Slot, he's probably going to want to play. He's not going to be able to play a completely different team against Frankfurt on Wednesday after playing United on the Sunday. So there's going to be maybe some players who are going to have to go again. So I don't know whether or not they're going to be concerned about that. But I agree with you. I think that energy, effort, application, these are the kind of things that should be always non-negotiable. And I feel like Slot feels the same. Like, you can look at the Chelsea game and look at the structural things that Chelsea did well that made it hard for us, and I mentioned some of the chances that could have gone either way, but that Caicedo goal, yeah, McAllister dives in and he shouldn't do, but once he's beaten, it's
a light jog.
Yeah, and last season it was notable how many times when Liverpool the teams were getting the other side of their defence, but they were all of them sprinting back, busting their guts to get back into position. That doesn't always seem to be there for whatever reason. Now, we mentioned McAllister's fitness issues already, so maybe it's time for someone else to come in there. Well, there's 15 players going away on internationals. Curtis Jones isn't. Like, again, and I feel like I've said this already, like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he makes the starting lineup for that game.
Someone was asking about stats and whether we did have running stats. We don't, but what I do have, which is spotted, which I thought I'd mention, is sort of what you're seeing from the eye test is backed up by stats, unfortunately. So in terms of comparing Liverpool to other Premier League teams this season, last season, the season before, pretty much everything is down currently. So attacks from open play, not as good. I think we know that. Disrupting the opposition's build-up, down. Press resistance, down. Defence in open play, down quite a bit. Defence from set pieces, not bad. Attack from set pieces, virtually non-existent, which Slot did mention the other week about that. You know, we were often finding that as a way to win games. Even that seems to have slipped away. So, yeah, you know, like we said at the top on the show, I totally understand that you have a conversation about all this stuff because you've lost 3 games on the trot. And also there isn't really a convincing 90-minute performance across the course of the season. But it is some very short days ago that people were saying things like, I wouldn't swap Gravenberch for any other midfielder in the league. You had Wayne Rooney, I think it was, saying that he thought he was the best midfielder in the league. Yeah. He still plays for us, you know what I mean? and you know, we've still got Van Dijk, who is one of the leading defenders, if not the leading defender in the world. We've spent all this money on attacking talent. Again, I don't really know why you'd have to sort of sell it. Oh, and by the way, thanks to Paul Sand, who was thrown in on the live chat. He says, gents, love the show. Should we go 4-3-1-2, get the old midfield in, Flo at 10, Isak and Ekitike up front, drop Gakpo and Salah? We need change.
I think that we might see that when Salah's at AFCON. We will see clearly a few games where Salah doesn't start. It happens against Galatasaray, so it's definitely going to happen at times this season. But I think going back to what we were saying about consistency, I think it's probably too early to make fundamental changes to the plan. If part of the problem is that everyone's not got used to the plan yet, I'm not sure changing the plan is the best idea. I think it's just giving people more help and guidance in order to get with the plan before we start changing it.
Another thing that I thought of when I was trying to think of sort of reasons, things, stuff that you might want to tweak, you know, just a bit of calmness, because you know I kind of feel like we've gone chaotic, and you know Carragher's been calling it basketball, hasn't he? And he says, you know, we seem to have lost like the almost like trademark control, and I think there's something in it, because you think about when Slot came in, and by the way, just to destroy another fucking annoying bullshit narrative that's come around again now that we you know, all these places are deciding to get stuck into the manager. It's oh yeah, he only won the league with Klopp's team, and now he's got to do something himself. It's all going wrong. You know that Klopp's team that he won the league with? They didn't win the league the year before. So how does the manager not deserve any credit for like what he did with Gravenberch, what he did with Diaz, getting more output from Diaz, and also what I'm about to say, basically changing how we manage games.
Yeah.
And he slowed us down a little bit. And like I wonder whether you know, there was a thing, wasn't it like Slot's dad or something said they were boring?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'd take some boring right now. I'll take 3 games of boring if we win.
I bet you would as well.
But do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I wonder whether it's... I'm not saying his our fella's got in his own head, but I wonder whether... Because if you look back to that, you know, the little head-to-head he has with Carragher after Bournemouth, and, you know, we know Jamie's not shy about getting stuff in and getting his opinion. Love him for it. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And so, he, you know, and he's gone like, he's literally gone to him like, that concerns you, what you're saying, Arne, about like, you know, everyone being up the pitch and all that. And he's like, well, if you're going to be a team that scores goals, then, you know, that's what you're going to see, basically. And so, you know, with that and with the players he bought and with what he was talking about, you know, what, you know, breaking down low blocks and winning games more convincingly, he talked about as well. Just wonder whether he's gone too far, you know, that way. Like, you know, is he in his own head about, I've got to entertain, when we'll take just winning, to be honest?
Maybe that's what it is. I think one of the underrated things about the attack that we used to have is how good they were defensively. Diaz and Jota in particular were really good pressers. When Szoboszlai was playing in the 10, those 3 were really good. And like, you didn't really notice Salah wasn't as good because they were really good at it. They would close teams down, they'd hunt in packs. I mean, think of the game at Old Trafford last season where they basically gave Casemiro nightmares, just robbing the ball off him every 10 minutes and was going up the other end and scoring a goal. Like, this current set of forwards aren't quite at that level yet. So there's more gaps that have appeared in midfield, which means that naturally the team aren't as strong defensively. So I think some of that basketballness is from just not being as structurally secure at the back to be able to say, like, how many times last season did Liverpool go through a 10-15 minute period where, okay, the opponent's attacking, we're just going to have to hold out here, and they would hold out? Like, how many games was like one? You mentioned we weren't getting comfortably. Loads of games were had a 1-goal lead like 15 minutes ago, but we won, and we had to hold out, but we did. This season, it doesn't feel like there is as strong a structure to be able to do that. So they're thinking, right, well, if we can't do that, then we've got to try and score. But yeah, I also don't think having so many midfielders as defenders is helping the midfield.
No. I mean, just the general, like the sort of the managing of the games, the picking of your moments, isn't it? It's like, it all just feels like off. It's like, again, like I went to Palace and I was there and I was like, I would at that moment in that game, how we played and how much we got tonked in the first half, I'll have to point all day, lads. And we talk. There's no point in doing that game again because we already talked about it. But it was so frustrating to throw away. A point would have been all right there. Yeah. And Saturday, I don't know. I'm still a bit torn on it. Like I wasn't sure about. I know it was late in the game and all the rest of it, but I just wasn't sure about bringing Endo on. I was like, feel like. Look at the team. Look at the actual team that we're playing. Look at what they're like at the back. Like you know what I've been saying since he signed for the club about Chiesa.
Yeah.
He's actually in form now, though.
Yeah.
He actually deserves to have a go because he's scoring goals, assisting goals, and his arse seems a little bit smaller. So what I'm saying is, I don't know why he didn't get on the pitch, and I would have rather have seen him coming on than fucking Endo.
See, the irony is that when Slot was asked about that, he said exactly what you just said. He said he was wanting control, and he thought that Endo would be that, but he wasn't.
No,
and that was the problem. No. So, to be fair to Slot, we've seen it when that does work. I mean, Endo is his closer, isn't it? It's just like, okay, we have what we hold. We hold what we have.
Gum shield in, off you go.
Yeah. Like that, and that. I mean, to be honest, traditionally it's worked better at Anfield than away from home, but that has been a thing. So in his mind, I think it was like I did the post-match show on NSTTV and Sammy Lee was talking sense. And he said that when you've been beaten twice, the next game, you just don't get beat. That's just the main thing. Like above everything else, you just don't get beat. So he said when he saw Endo coming on, he was pleased because it's like, okay, they're going to go for what they have. But they weren't able to stop. Endo wasn't able to stop Chelsea still getting attacks.
And I felt watching it that, Chelsea, like I say, were very gettable. And the problem was that, Salah and Gakpo were just not, I know Gakpo scored, but just not enough providing a threat. No. And it was like, well, why not get that lad on who in recent weeks has? And, he's got a bit of a talisman aspect about him and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, let's get in Chelsea's heads a bit here, maybe, but I don't know. It does feel as well like some of this as well. Like I feel like there's lots of talk about the new players, the old players, systems manager, all of this. There's just loads of players not in form.
Yeah.
Feel like a broken record on this, but I kept saying it to my mates when I was watching the game. I was like, who is in form? I said, because it seems that we had quite a smaller list to start off with, and then the list's actually getting smaller. So, Gravenberch was, and then against Galatasaray, he was poor. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, Dom doesn't look particularly happy when you keep throwing him. Like, his face when it was like, you're now right back, was like, he doesn't want to be right back.
Yeah, it's like, it's all well and good doing it at once. And the other thing about Dom at right back is that it kind of reminds me of with Diaz as centre forward. It's like the first few times you do it, it works really well. And part of the reason it works really well is because the opponents weren't expecting it. But if you keep doing it, then the opponent's going to start expecting it. They're going to start game playing against it. And this week we've seen Galatasaray and Chelsea, both the first time Dom's looked like he's not necessarily struggled, but it's been harder work for him to play that position than it was against Newcastle and against Arsenal even. And I think that's what he's probably feeling is like, this was fun for a little while, but can I go back to doing my proper job, please? And considering, as we've been saying, he has been one of the better performers this season, it feels a little bit unfair that we've shunted him out to do this thing that he's never done before. So yeah, I feel like that was something that probably worked well in the moment, but it's not something you want to do over a longer period because teams will start to work it out. And like, I know they were all over the place at times, but in the first half in particular, you do have to give some credit to Chelsea because the game plan that they had to put more overload in midfield, it did work. It did stop us doing what we wanted to do. But then once we got the equaliser, we were really in the ascendancy. We could and should have really gone on and won the game from there. But yeah, it's weird because I feel like in some ways it's awful having 2 weeks break because, like I say, you just got all those memories of bad performances and bad games, and you got all of the talk of like, what can Liverpool do? Liverpool terrible, blah 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 blah. But for Slot, I wonder, like, obviously, in the ideal world, he would have loads of time with all of his players to get on the training pitch and work them and work them and work them until they get it right. But guess what? Even in normal time, he's not going to have that time. I just said there's 7 games in 21 days. Yeah. He's not going to get time on the training pitch with them either. At least now, he hasn't got to come in front of a microphone every 2 days and answer the same questions. At least now, him and his coaches at least can get together. Like, he's like have a movie night. Like all the sort of Chinese get the old lads around and be like, okay, we're going to sit here until we come up with some ideas for what we can do. And like, you can at least actually really think it through. Look at in minute detail about what has gone wrong. And
you know what Man United are going to do because the manager literally says he's...
Exactly.
The mad bastard literally keeps coming out in press conferences saying, "I know we're shite, but I'm not going to change the system because I'm just waiting for me payoff."
So
now.
You know what he reminds me of? Blackadder, Lord Melcher. He's always just like, you know what? They're not going to expect after 200 times of going over the top. We're going to go over the top. Yeah. So I imagine that game plan is probably going to be the same as it was last season. But I do think just in terms
last season.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I do think just in terms of giving the manager and the coaches a break from the hamster wheel of football and media duties and all that kind of gear.
I think anything like it, you know, there will be they're all going away. They're all, loads of them do represent the country, as I said before, some of them don't. But either way, it does feel to me like, a little reset, like a little change of scenery could be a good thing because a change of scenery is good for anyone at any time. I highly recommend changes of scenery.
I'm going to be doing that exactly myself in about, 3-4 days?
Well, changes of scenery. I was looking for a place that I can squeeze it in and crowbar it in. So every day I've been getting a change of scenery in October.
Smooth.
And that will continue because if you don't know, I am walking at least 5k a day in October. That is, I believe, 3.1 miles or thereabouts. So I've tended to be doing about 4 or 5 at least so far. I've managed to get all the days in. I got today's in, which I knew was going to be a challenge because of what my day looked like, but I still got it in there. And I'm enjoying doing it. I'm enjoying going in different directions and finding new little places and boss little places for walks that I didn't know about. But what I'm really enjoying is the support for me doing it. So thanks very much to everyone who's thrown in so far. I am doing it every day in October to raise money for the campaign against Living Miserably. They help people who are suicidal, anyone who is affected by suicide, they help them too. But loads of good information out there about. I read a good article that they put out at the weekend actually about when you're suffering from burnout, how you can sort of get yourself out of the burnout situation. It's something I've definitely felt at times, so it was actually really useful. So also as well, I'm always happy, as anyone who's watched or listened to this podcast for any amount of time will know, I'm always happy to sprinkle some dickhead on any situation. And so I will spice up this situation that I've just said, where I am walking every day to raise money for a very good cause, by saying I've also now discovered there is like a ladder thing like who is the top fundraiser? And the top fundraiser.
It's got competitive people.
The top fundraiser right now for campaign against living miserably 5k a day in October is fucking me. Get in! So as things stand, it's refreshed daily, but as things stand, I checked earlier, I am top of the league with £1,549 as things stand. Adam Sutton is in second place with 1,305, and then Toby Holland. No one called Toby can win anything. That is not allowed. Help me beat Toby. He is on 1,190. If you would like to throw in for this, anything that you can afford, please do so. If you've got me on Instagram, every single day I'm uploading a picture of some sort, showing some kind of war, showing you the walk I did off Strava, and then the link to the Just Giving. We'll throw it in the description as well. I think it's on my Twitter, it's on the Late Challengers Twitter, it's round and about. And if you just look it up as well, Gareth Roberts, 5k a day in October, campaign against living miserably, Just Giving. You put all the, you know how Google works.
I think we should be fair to say that Toby really is sound for doing this as well.
Yeah, well in Toby, but you can't win with that name or that haircut.
I would still love it. I'd love it if we beat them.
I've got to win, haven't I? Now that I know there's that aspect to it. Like, look, I'm more than happy with that total, by the way, because I said, so what campaign against living miserably say is that I think it's £12.29 is enough to fund, a specialist being on the end of the phone and potentially providing a life-saving call. So, and they recommended that you set your target at 120 quid. So essentially 10 calls. And I was like, nah. So I was like, we'll go for 1,200 quid. So it's more 100 calls. So I'm up to 1,549. So I've beat my target, which I'm made up with. So thanks again. But now you've got to go again, haven't you? Let's get £2,000. Let's really stuff it to Toby.
He's going to be watching the show now like, what the fuck
what have I done? I'm just raising money the same as you, lad. Why are you getting stuck into me? There it is, for anyone who's in the live chat right now. The link to the Just Giving is right there if you fancy having a go. So just to bring it back to the game at the weekend as well, because we talked quite generally, haven't we, here? Let's just see if there's any stuff that I wanted to mention that we haven't. Well, first off, Liverpool did, believe it or not, have the better chances in the game, which is what Mo said earlier. So, actually, there is a world where we would have won that match, and our XG was 2.06 and theirs was 1.24. We had 12 shots each, but only 2 of ours were on target, which is kind of an issue, isn't it? We mentioned the Isak touch. We mentioned the Vert touch. The Isak touch, for all that we shouldn't be talking about touches, there was divided opinions initially on whether he meant it or not. Was it meant for himself, or was it meant to tee up Cody Gakpo?
No, it's definitely meant for himself, but it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. I got talked into that he meant it for Gakpo, because we watched it back about 1 million times, and it was like, he has a look. No, but he also kind of shapes as if he's going to swing his body around, and then he stops because he sees the Gakpo's already there. So, I think the original plan is for him to touch it, swivel, and then hit it. But by the time he got to the point of the swivel, Gakpo was already there to feast on it. And, fair play to Cody Gakpo for getting himself right in the middle there. But I do think that if Gakpo wasn't there, he probably would have tried to swing around and hit it. But look, I mean, I'm sure if you spoke to him after the game, he would say, it doesn't matter. I got an assist. I'm happy we scored a goal. And to be honest, him getting an assist and getting up and running and, adding little bits of stats lines is all positive.
It's all good, isn't it? And let's not lose sight of the fact that the Ekitike fella started well. Yeah. He was doing well. Also, as well, a shout out for the goalkeeper. I thought Mamadashvili did well.
I did. Yeah.
And he even gets a finger on the first goal, doesn't he? Which was some shot. Yeah. And it was actually got a touch on that.
Yeah. Also, I'd like all of our...
I mean, maybe he shouldn't boom in at Virgil, but...
well, this is what I was going to say. I'd like our defenders to remember that he's left-footed.
Yeah, give it to his left foot.
So give it to him over here, not what you were doing with Alisson.
But I thought he did all right.
Yeah, I've been So I was really impressed with him against Southampton, and people say, "Oh yes, it was Southampton, whatever." But it's not just about the saving shots and whatever. It's the way he commands his box.
Yeah,
and I think that you do that against whatever opponent.
He was good at coming out, wasn't he? I thought that myself, and like also, so I always believe in some of the stuff that still doesn't really get talked about much in football. So things like, Liverpool have lost 3 in the row, so no one really says things like, well, that then if you're Liverpool's opponents from here on in until otherwise, they're encouraged, aren't they? They're like, well, we think we can get at these now. So Man United might be encouraged. I kind of want them to be.
Yeah.
Because come on then, let's have it. And with Mamardashvili, like we've had the opposite of what I've just talked about and what you just talked about. If we think back to goalies, we don't have to get stuck into them and say their names, but I'm sure you can all have a big thing. Mignolet. But like goalies where it just became a thing that if the other team got a corner, well, it's going to be a fucking goal because the goalie's going to do something mad. And it was like
Man United are going through that right now.
Although, of course,
he
had a good game against Sunderland, so now he's going to be fucking an absolute cat, Banks or something against us at Anfield. But no, I thought he was good. I thought he was decent, and like bearing in mind that all of these things always come with all the stuff that you should say, which is probably quite hard to like step into this spotlight from. Obviously we knew he was coming for ages and all that kind of stuff. But it's a different kettle of fish being over here in this league with all the fucking, about everything. As we're seeing right now.
It's funny as well.
He's done all right there.
Because like when we signed him and we spent so much money on him, lots of people saying, "Oh, he's going to come in and want to be number one. He's going to expect to play lots of games." It's like, well, number one, the guy who's over there who's in his place is one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. But also, he's probably going to give you a chance because he's probably going to get injured at some point because he has done it. I think it's 4 seasons in a row.
Yeah,
he's missed games. So it's like, be patient. You'll get your chance. And lo and behold, he now gets his chance.
In terms of the squad as well, I keep hearing, and it's true, that Arsenal squad is good, is deep. When you looked at what they had on the bench in the Champions League and stuff like that, you're like, it's good. That, to be fair, just saying. Ingamo are not even in the 20.
No.
Because there was no space for him.
I thought maybe that was just some kind of extra needle to Chelsea. It's like, actually, no, we don't really need him anymore. Like, but no.
It would have been well better needle to bring him on when he scored, to be fair. Also, as well, I'm really enjoying just shooting down a lot of the bollocks that I'm seeing online in this show. So I wanted to also shoot down the idea of that we've somehow made the mistake letting Diaz go. Yes, we probably are missing him because there was clear output from him, which the manager improved. But the manager, as I've already said, does not manage the contracts and the buying and the selling.
No, he doesn't.
And for whatever reason, Liverpool did not put a contract in front of his face that he wanted to sign. And what they thought instead was £65 million for a 28-year-old who's been fanning his ass at European clubs for a season or two.
He wanted to leave the season before.
Exactly. He wanted to go, everyone. So what you want? Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like I heard before as well on the radio, the manager chose to sell the fullbacks. And it's like, no, mate.
No.
Trent's definitely engineered his own exit. Did you miss the news?
We barely sold him at all.
Do you know what I mean? It's like why? Where do we start changing these stories to suit this bullshit? And on bullshit and on changing stories to suit weird narratives and all that. I've seen some horrendously bad wank from fucking people who should just know better. And it doesn't need to be associated to a club. But do you know what? It wasn't associated to a club because it was different fans who just want to put something edgy on social media. So it was along the lines of, oh, here we go, the blaming Jota, basically, for losing. And I'm like, really? And it's it's because of a quote from Van Dijk. Now, we've talked, I would say, pretty sensibly on here about grief before. And let's remember, we've literally seen our players on the pitch this season with tears in their eyes. And I just think, as someone who's gone through, a fair bit of grief myself in fairly recent times, I think the sort of, it doesn't matter what you're paid or what you do as a profession. There's a thing that can hit you at any time.
Yeah.
Of you just think, what's the point? Like everything's like it's like everything's being brought. We sometimes make out, don't we, that football is the most important thing in the world. It's so important, it's so vital to win. Blah, all of that stuff again. And it's like, if some of these players are waking up some days and just going, what's the fucking point? Yeah. That is a perfectly normal thing. And I don't know whether they are or they aren't, but I'm just saying, the idea of writing it off as a factor just because it doesn't suit a shitty narrative, get a fucking grip.
I think there's a few things with this. So one, I think you have to factor in the character of the man, who would often be the kind of person who, when you're having a bad day, would be the one to kind of lift the spirits of people. So if you're having a bad day, and then he's not around anymore, it's going to compound it also. Another thing about this shitty narrative is that people are saying, well, why are you only talking about it when Liverpool lose? Well,
we didn't.
No, for starters, we didn't. But no one is saying that it doesn't affect them when Liverpool also win. But we're not having to kind of bring it up. It's a very different thing. I don't know whether you saw what Ned Manua said on BBC.
Very good.
Ned Manua is genuinely really good.
Yeah, he's a Ross pundit. I like him.
But he spoke. If you've not seen it, he spoke about losing his mother halfway through his career, and about the rest of his career. He just didn't feel the same. Even the good times didn't feel as good.
The highs don't always feel as high. I totally. I'm all. That was what I was on about because I saw that and I absolutely resonated with me. Yeah, because I have that regularly still. And it's like, it's probably connected to me dad if I want to sit down with a therapist and talk about it at some point. But stuff where that something that's previously made me dead happy sometimes doesn't make me as happy.
And if you are a footballer and you're going through a tough season, the good times are supposed to be what helps you go through the bad times. And if the good times aren't as good, the bad times are probably still as bad, if not worse. So it's difficult. And this all goes back to what I said at the beginning of the season about giving them a break. And I think we just because we want it to be over, doesn't mean it's over. Yeah. We don't get to control how their brains work. That's simply the fact. So it might, like you say, it might not suit your narrative to say that it's still a thing. It's still going to be a thing. And guess what? It's going to be a thing every time they step on the pitch. You know why? Because what's going to happen in the 20th minute? They're going to remember. And I was having this conversation with my mate the other day, and he was like, well, maybe they should stop singing at the 20th minute. It's like, well, no. Because now, if they don't sing at the 20th minute, that'll trigger a memory as well. Like, it's too late. Like he's going to be there in their thoughts every time they're on a pitch. There's no getting around it.
Yeah. Just another little bit of me actually doing some research for once. You said that? Fuck off.
I can tell you're on the overlap now. I'm trying to be like a professional.
So just another little thing about Mo and about Vert. So, loads and loads rightfully, wondering what's happening with Mo. Obviously, what was it last season? 57 goal involvements or something mad like that. So, the idea that, he now will never score a goal again. He already has scored goals, but obviously he scored goals. He scored less goals this season compared to this time last season. We know that. We can see that. We can see he's struggling. Lots of people now writing him off and all the rest of it. I just had a little look and thought it was interesting. Don't bite me head off here. He's got 3 goals, obviously, so far this season in all comps. Hugo is top with 5. But I just thought his XG, sorry to bring it back to that, everyone, but Mo's XG for the season is 2.9, and he's got 3 goals.
Yeah.
So he's not getting shitloads of chances. Like even the ones against Chelsea, of course they were fucking disappointing finishes. But what he's actually trying to do is bend it in from the edge of the box, which is a goal we've seen him score lots of times. Yes. But equally, it's like it's a 20-yard shot. And I'm not an expert on XG, but I don't think XG is high for a 20-yard shot.
We got used to him putting those away. He got used to putting those away. So the kind of thing that we would think, well, yeah, that's you're not very likely to score there. In his mind, he's thinking this is going in. So he is like, this is the other thing that I think we need to flag when we're talking about Mo Salah and how he's playing. He's as unhappy about this as everyone. Like the idea that he's not he doesn't care or he's not bothered about it. He's bothered. He wants, and that you can sense it in that game that he was not the first one, the one we mentioned from the Wirtz touch. He should have scored. He should have done better with that. And he
get it on target at least. Yeah.
And he knew that, and you could sense that in the way that he played the rest of the game. And we've seen that from Mo. Sometimes he does feel like he's got to right the wrong. If he misses one, he knows he should score. But I'm not willing to write him off. I don't think anyone else should either. I think we should also remind people how much he enjoys playing against Manchester United. So if you're worried about Mo Salah's lack of scoring or even lack of scoring opportunities, then they are the best team for Liverpool to be playing next. But you have to acknowledge the fact, as we just said before, like Liverpool spent so much money on attackers. Like there's no getting around it. Ekitike, Isak and Wirtz are the future of Liverpool's attack. Mo Salah is the present and very soon to be the past. So it makes sense that he, to a certain extent, he's going to be silent. He's not going to be as prominent as he has been previously, because a lot of the shots that he would have been taking are now going to be taken by those others. So there's a certain amount of that that's going to be a natural drop-off anyway. But I just think that he will come good, and we'll have to wait and see if it happens. Obviously, the clock's ticking because, as I mentioned, he's going to be going away to AFCON for a bit. So
yeah,
I quite like
the clock is also ticking, and that he's 33 years old, and at some point, he's going to slow down. At some point, he's going to start scoring less goals. But it just feels a little early for all of that, despite his form this season. When, as I say, last season, 34 goals, 23 assists. Which is not bad, is it? It's all right. And yeah, 3 goals, 3 assists this season, which is less than this point last season, but it's also not naught.
I would take one of those assists off him because really Sobs should get the one for Rio Gomez. The step over.
That's hard.
I mean, look.
Come on. Okay, well, that'll do us, I think, for the free show. As I mentioned earlier, on the Patreon show this week, we're going to be talking about football and the media. We'll speak to Mo, obviously, who's sat right here. That's him there.
Hello.
Because Mo is, of course, in the press conferences, being a journalist and all that kind of stuff. So what's it like to make the transition from doing this kind of thing to doing that kind of thing? We'll talk about the wider, bigger picture. We'll talk about some stuff out there that probably annoys both of us. I mean, you would probably laugh if you could see how I've put it on the agenda, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to come over there and see what we're on about. But, you know, all of the stuff that, you know, we probably all talk about, clickbait, rage bait, saying stuff you don't mean, what traditional journalists think of the non-traditional journalists, all of that kind of gear. We're going to get into all of that this week on the Patreon for something a little bit different. So if you fancy that, come on over to there, have a go of it. If you fancy just backing the Late Challenge generally, Patreon's probably the best place to do it because you get an extra show every week. You also get the chance to go back and watch all the extra shows we've ever made on Patreon. You can also jump on the Patreon via Spotify now as well. That took me a long time to set up with loads of backwards and forwards to Patreon. So well in to the girl that I emailed 1,000 million times to sort that out, but we got there in the end. So if someone could sign up via Spotify and say, yeah, that worked, Robbo, that would be fantastic too. But yeah, come on over, get involved. You can also buy us a Barry's tea at Buy Me a Coffee, The Late Challenge. But that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with another free show. If you're coming over to the Patreon, see you over there. And if you're not, nice one. Ta-da.